Join me on New Year's Day 2019 and a brand new growing year on the plot. I'd like to take this opportunity to wish both new and old subscribers a very happy and prosperous new year, and hope you come with me on the journey of growing the fruit and veg throughout the year. For the new viewers to the channel, I'll just give a brief description of my plot. When I first took it on, I decided to build raised beds, and these now comprise of 12 main growing areas. They're all at the same size, and this has proved invaluable when building frames to put enviromesh and that on for protection throughout the season. It just means I can swap them from one bed to the other and they fit perfectly. For the regular viewers to the channel, you may notice a few little additions and changes this year. Firstly, I hope to be doing a plot tour within the first week of each month. This is something I planned on doing last year but never got round to it for one reason or another. So this year I'm going to make a good effort, beginning of every month, do a plot tour. This will be good to look back on the previous month or months, and then we can see how stuff's progressing, whether that be good or bad. In addition to that, I'll be adding a few extra jobs, hints, tips and that, what you can be looking at doing within the coming 3 or 4 weeks. Also on the agenda is to try and visit a few other YouTubers and have a look around their plots, because you see people's plots on video, then when you actually see them in real life, sometimes they look smaller, sometimes they look a lot bigger. So that's something I have to share with you over the next 12 months. And finally, we'll still be covering the garden shows, the Gardener's World, Malvern, Shrewsbury, and hopefully I'll try and venture up north a bit more, try Chatsworth and maybe Tatton Park and stuff like that. Just before we start the plot tour, January is quite a common time for people to take on allotments, especially new people. So if you're new to the channel or just taking an allotment, pop over to Jane Kelly's channel, because just before Christmas she did the 12 days of Christmas, which was 12 YouTube gardeners who each give a tip, and there's some good information there. The one I did was actually for new beginners for allotments, and there's certain points to consider. So if you haven't been over, go and have a look at Jane's 12 days of Christmas, and I'll put a link underneath the window. So let's get on now with the tour. We'll start the tour off with what I call the top end of the plot, and for the regular viewers will recognise these. These are my loft water tanks, and it's what I grow my carrots in, the sweet candle. There's 6 there in total, although for the 2018 season I actually used 4. Plan is for 2019 this year is to put the 6 in operation, and that'll be done with an intermittent sowing, probably around 3 to 4 weeks each one. To help me on the plot tour, I've done a little crib sheet here. It's just a rough draft of my planting for 2019. It's not set in concrete, but more or less it's what I'm going to be putting there. Starting off in this bed here, this has got the elephant garlic in. There's 2 rows there. They was in about 6 weeks before they started to poke their heads up, and I was getting a bit concerned. However, they've all fired up and now about 3 or 4 inches long. Continuing on in that bed, there's another 6 rows of conventional garlic, and that comprises of cork white, and there's also Marco's, the other variety, and all of them are fired up, so that's quite good. Moving on to this last bed here. These are what they call overwintering or Japanese onions. These are sets again, and there's a bit of a mixture. There's a white, a yellow and a red in there. And a quick look, and I think all of them are fired up, so looking forward to that. Plan for this when the harvest of these comes out. I'm going to be keeping, this is going to be a flower bed where the cosmos and dahlias will be going into there. You may recall the issue I had last year in the tomato bed where the dahlias and the cosmos was fighting for space, and in the end I had to dig them all out, and it caused havoc. So this is, I think, is going to be the flower bed once the onions are out. Just looking at this area here now, and you'll probably say it's a right mess, it is. This is going to be cleared right out, the space is going to be emptied, and I've got a plan here for a little veg container, but there'll be more about that towards the start of the Marchish, February, March, when I start planting in there, and that'll be growing for fast grow salad crops. This here is bed 1, and this year in here we grew the sweet corn and the celery. In the middle bed, you may recall, we had the tomatoes where we had the issues, and right down the bottom was parsnips and swede. This year is going to be the brassica bed, but we've got a bit of a task in where we're going to have to change the ratio in which we grow stuff. We've got a bit of a glut of stuff still left, and that's mainly because my daughter moved up to Sheffield University, and the stuff she'd normally eat was, well, we're still left with basically. But, normally I grow 24 sticks of sprouts. We'll be knocking that down to 12, but the extra space what generates, I'll probably be increasing more cauliflower because we do eat a lot of that. So just having a look on the plan here, there's going to be mixed cabbages in there. There's going to be hispy, pointed, and some boar lead. There'll be cauliflowers, which will probably, it's Clapton's the one I usually do grow, although I'll try some all year round as well. And last but not least, my favourite will be Iron Man Calabrese, because that does really crop well. In this bed here now, we've still got a few Swedes, which really don't come to the back end, so I might be ripping them out. And hidden under there, I'm not sure, there might be about another 3 or 4 parsnips left. So that's bed 1 done. Just all the same, all during the next week or so, a delivery of cow manure. Now, this is about a 6-ton load, and I'll be taking a third of that, so I'll be having about 2 ton. You know, the stuff we've had delivered already is very well rotted, so I'll be putting that on top of the beds, leaving that for 6 to 8 weeks to let the frost get at it. Then I'll probably cover it up just to warm it up before we start planting it. This here, as you can see, is still the brassica cage, and we've still got a few sticks of sprouts left. I'll be picking the best off of them, then ripping them out, and probably then getting the bed sorted, manuring. This here is going to be the onion bed, and in this section here, bed 2A, I've got down as for leeks, that's been pot leeks and blanch leeks again, and also my old favourite, the musselburgh. Moving up into the middle bed, this year these are going to be full of heat treated onion sets. I'll get these from Marshall's, and I can't emphasise how good these are. Not last year, the year before, I put about 120 in and they didn't have one bolt at all. It's fantastic. They're not as big as the normal giant onions, but they store very, very well, so I'm putting all those in this bed here. Talking about the big onions, I'm probably growing about a dozen, 15 of the what they call the exhibition onions, the Kelseys, and the reason for that is because I stored them in the shed this year and they just haven't kept. They lasted about 6 weeks, 8 weeks, and they started to go mushy. So rather than put all my effort into that, I'll still grow a couple of rows, and they'll be on this top row here. But right behind those, then they'll be putting my what they call the banana shallots, and there'll be 2 varieties there, the Zabroon and also long red Florence. You may recall the issue I had with the Zabroon shallots and all, because last year they just formed weird shapes, and looking on the internet there's quite a few people had the same issue as well, so it wasn't me. But give them another chance, I'll be growing Zabroon again. Moving on to this bed, and as you can see, this was the old onion allium bed. We've still got some leeks left in, and they look very good actually at the moment. Like I didn't practice what I preach and planted them out and never netted them with the environment, and consequently the fly got in and more or less wrecked them. There's 1 or 2 pot leeks down the front, may be able to rescue, but apart from that, they'll be ripping out and be manuring the bed again. What we've got lined up for here, this is going to be the potatoes, and now this is going to be a big change for me this year. First earlies, as usual, will be in buckets. The second earlies, instead of growing them in the beds, I'm going to be growing them in the actual bed sunk in, but they're going to be in these 30-litre pots. So the main reason for me, I dislike harvesting, digging up potatoes. It's just no go, and I've seen such successful results on the internet with growing in buckets. I thought I'd give them a chance this year. So this is bed 3, and this is bed A, 3A. This is going to be the shallots, second earlies, Moving along to the middle bed, 3B, I always keep 2 beds for my main crop potatoes, the sour palmyra. Now this is going to be a bit of a trial for me this year because the middle bed of sour pals, they're going to be grown in buckets again. And right the way up to the top here, this 3C bed, this is going to be sour palmyra, but these are going to be grown in the ground. So it'll be interesting actually compare the crops of both the beds. So all this is potato bed and we'll see how they go. I'm going to have to think about putting some kind of irrigation system in because I know the buckets do dry out, even though the buckets will be sunk into the beds, and hopefully that'll do the trick. This is the 4th bed and this is 4C. Both these 2 beds here have still got sour palmyra potatoes in. I haven't bothered digging them up yet, so that might be a job in the next couple of weeks. Looking on the plan here, this is going to be where there'll be a courgette or 2 in the front of here. There'll be some celery and sweet corn. Sweet corn again, we grew too much last year, so we've still got quite a lot of that in the freezer. I'll probably be knocking that down to 18, maybe 24 plants maximum. This year it was 36. Moving on to the middle bed, this is going to be the tomato bed. As you know, my favourite tomato is the Crimson Crush. But there's just lately there's a couple of other tomato plants come out on the market which are blight resistant. So the plan is to grow 4 in a row and 3 rows. There'll be Crimson Crush, Mountain Magic, and I think the other one's called Furline, I'm not sure. Well, we'll check that out. But I'm going to be growing 3 varieties of allegedly blight resistant and see how they compare to each other. I will be growing probably 1 or 2 other Crimson Crush in the back garden as a backup in case the other lot fail. In this last bed here, these are going to be my Swedes and parsnips again. I made the same mistake when I did this plan as I did last year. I planned all the bed out and completely forgot. I got nowhere to put the peas. So I've allowed a bit of room at the back of this bed here where the Swedes and parsnips are going to be, and also at the back of the top bed where I'll plant the row of peas and get them out first before the sweet corn goes into the finished position. I don't need me bit of paper for this because this is as usual as the bean trench. I don't know if you can tell off the camera, it's leaning a bit because I've got all rubbish against it, so this all needs to be cleared out and level back up. The front here will be the French beans, the Cobra, and probably the Blue Lake, and at the back will be the runner beans, which will usually grow, I think will be the Benchmaster, them at the top. But the big change will be in this bed in the front here. Now normally I grow this for broad beans, but last year or 2 I haven't grown any because there's only really me enjoys them, so I think I'm not growing them this year. What I'm going to be doing is converting this area into a cold frame. It'll be a modular thing built to the shape of the bed, but because the same length of the sections going across the allotment, this will be its primary position, but should I need to, I can actually lift it up, move it across the other beds and use it as a coal frame in another area. So that's another project I'll be doing this year. Here are some additional jobs that you may wish to consider for the month of January. For the people who do not practice the no-dig method, turn the beds over with some winter digging. Leave the soil clods in large sizes and the frost will break these down into a fine tilth. It's a really nice job to warm you up on a cold morning. Top dress or mulch beds. This can be well rotted manure, straw, homemade compost or leaf mould. Add a generous layer across the bed and spread evenly. Some people prefer to cover the beds with a dark sheeting. This serves 3 purposes. It prevents the soil from getting waterlogged with the constant winter rain or melting snow. It creates a dark environment which encourages the worms to rise to the surface and get to work by pulling down any manure or compost and pulls it down into the depths of the bed. And finally, the plastic will actually warm up the soil, which can be advantageous if you want an early start with early plantings and sowings. Think about installing water butts or IBC tanks sooner rather than later. Water butts come in various sizes, and IBC tanks, industrial bulk containers, are usually around 1,000 litres each. Try to position these so that they can gather rain from any runoff surfaces such as sheds, greenhouses and polytunnels. On our site we are fortunate to have a supply of mains water, but it's quite common for a site to have none of these. 2018 summer was a real test for all allotment gardeners, where we saw prolonged extreme high temperatures. The winter months are a good time to divide and replant rhubarb crowns. Some old school gardeners will dig up the crown and leave it on top of the soil, exposing it to a few frosts, and then replanting it at the end of the month. If you have strawberries in pots or containers, bring them under cover in the greenhouse or move them to a sheltered spot. Just by raising the surrounding temperatures by a few degrees will bring them into flower a few weeks earlier for those delicious fresh strawberries. Have a look in your local newspaper or search the internet for potato days that are being held in your area. This is a great opportunity to purchase some less popular varieties and also to talk to some potato experts. These are often sold as single tubers there as well as by set weights, so do your calculations of your requirements before you get there. If you haven't done so already, now is a good time to cut down autumn fruit in raspberries. Also add a light top dressing of sulphate of potash or some well rotted manure. Sprinkle this lightly around the base of the plant.
So that's it, the first plot turn of 2019, January, hopefully the first of many if everything goes to plan. As you can see, quite a few projects on the anvil. Hopefully we will get them all done. Time will tell. I have got other jobs around the house I need to do as well, so but as I do these I'll be taking you along with me and maybe you can give me a hand. That's about it from me, so until next time I'll see you later. Bye for now.